Hi everyone, Jeri Bellini here. Welcome to the Little House in Pennsylvania. Today is going to be a how-to on this piece, and this is from my Burnout Art series if you followed along with any of those videos. Now, when I showed the piece originally, it didn't have borders, it wasn't put together, it was just the blocks. And I did go over very vaguely how I thought I was going to put it together. Well, the whole thing morphed as usual, and I felt that a how-to video would be appropriate. So I do have kits for these pieces in my Etsy shop. Link is down in the description box below. I have a few different colorways, and I think there's still quite a few kits left. I am going to be adding different colors over the next, week or so. I really wanted to get this video out for you. So that being said, we're going to talk about the supplies if you can't get a kit in a minute. First, I wanted to tell you, if you're new here to my channel, I'm a 69-year-old YouTuber that came back from doing videos. I was gone for 4 years and came back to encourage and inspire the older community to create, just play, no rules, and find something to be grateful for each and every day. So as we get older, we do face a lot of different challenges and wonderful things too. So I don't want to focus on the negative. And I share a lot of that with you here on this channel. So if you're, getting upwards, you might want to join us. And if you're not getting upwards, you might want to join us for the creative time. So that being said, if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate that. And the like button. And don't forget to hit that little bell, I think is up there too. It will let you know when I put up a new video or when I go live. I did buy a webcam. So, all right, let's get started on this now. Enough with the yaya. First, we're going to turn the camera around and we're going to go over the supplies that you need for this piece if you didn't purchase a kit. If you did purchase a kit, everything is in the kit except the thread and a needle. Let's move on. First thing we're going to talk about are the supplies if you're interested in making one of these. And I'm using 100% recycled wool. So everything here is recycled from something. I go to the thrift store, I take apart pants and skirts, wool, 100% wool. I aim for occasionally, some of this has a little something else in it, but if it felts, it's fair game. I do have a video that shows you or tells you how to actually do felting and deconstructing if you're getting a jacket or a skirt. I'll put the link in. All right, so we need wool. And there's 25 2-inch squares here. Now, of course, you can make this any size you want, but if you purchased a kit from me, it's going to be this size. It's 5 across by 5 down, so it's 10 by 10. Okay, and then I added a border, and in the kit, and we're going to talk about the border later, but in the kit there are pieces for a border. And if you want to do corner squares, which is what was in my sample, then you're going to need 4 more, so 29 2-inch squares. You're going to need scraps, little bits and pieces of your wool. Now, it could be the same color, it could be a different color, it could be a complementary color, anything. But you'll need scraps. And I cut all these little pieces just from seams. And, if I have a piece of wool and it's got like stitching up the seam, I like to use the part with the stitches on it. So don't be afraid to use stuff like that. If there's a buttonhole or whatnot, those are fun to use too. I think all that stuff adds interest to your piece. So you need scraps, the squares, you need thread. Whatever thread you want to use. I have used buttonhole thread, so that's carpet thread. I've used pearl cotton. I've used embroidery floss. You can just use wool thread. Whatever you want to use is fine. And then get a needle that goes with the thread. All right, not to confuse you, but we're back to this one again because I wanted to show you the foundation cloth. So you're going to need a piece of foundation cloth, and this is a piece of canvas. And if you purchase the kit from me, this will be included in the kit. And this is also has been recycled. I picked it up at the flea market, a big piece of it, and washed it and put it in the dryer. You will also need a piece of cloth. You can use muslin, any kind of cotton, whatever you have on hand as the backing cloth. So this is the foundation cloth and this is the backing cloth. So it's like a quilt where there's 3 layers. The top, the batting, the wadding, in this case it's the foundation cloth, and then the backing. All right. Okay, so now you've cut up all your squares. If you're using your own cloth, 2 inches, and you've made it as big as you want to make it, that's great. Just see if you like the colors of the squares. You don't have to overthink too much about where everything is going to be placed at this moment, because the look of the squares changes as you add your embellishments on it. So just lay your squares out and then take any of the scraps that you may have and start cutting them up into various shapes. Little triangles are interesting. I had another one, but I don't know what happened to it. So I had 3 of these and then I put 3 there. Circles are fun. Let's see, here's a little thing that I cut out. And then here's the little oval that I cut out in the middle of that. And I'll just put this on something and just going to show you a few of my finished pieces at this moment. So once you cut out all your little shapes, what I do is I lay them out on a board and just say, oh, I like that. And then you can just start picking them up and stitching them. So I did that last night. And I did decide to add a little bit of a color in with this. And I was torn between red and yellow, or this is like a deep gold, because I love red and yellow with gray. And I have that in my kitchen. I have red and yellow things. So I went with the yellow or gold, let's say. So let's see, let me make sure you can see this. Yep, okay. So I just wanted to show you some of the ways that I cut out the pieces in the middle, because that's the next thing. You cut them out and then you're going to start embellishing. I'm going to put that one up there. All right. So you can see I took a circle, I cut it in half. Here's a circle up here with a circle on top of it and a little bit of embroidery. This is, I cut away part of this circle, and that's what this is. And the wool is still sturdy enough that I think I can stitch over it and it's not going to fall apart. Some wool has a little bit more integrity than others, and so you can get the thinner pieces. And here's my piece, my original piece, so you can see what I did here. This is, I'm going to show you. I mentioned this technique. I don't even know what to call it, but I'll tell you about it again when I do a video on it. But you can just embellish it however you want. So you can just do stitching. So here's the circle, again cut in half with a piece in the middle, and those are French knots. There's the chain stitch, I think that's called. I did a little couching with some yarn. So embellish it however you want. I just wanted to put this back here so you could get an idea. See, here's the square or rectangle, and here's the oval that goes in there. And then this is one of these. So another sidebar is I sell these cutouts, these punch outs. I have a die punch, which I have mentioned before in some of my other videos. It's a very heavy steel thing that I love. And they're all sold out. So when I'm finished with this video, hopefully I can get down and cut out some more punches if anybody's interested. So obviously you guys have been interested because there's none left. So you'll notice that this has like a finished, a rounded corner. And so I have all these dies and they do that boop, 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 and you're done. You can cut them out by hand. So here's one that I had, and I cut out the center, and well, you get the gist, right? So maybe you want to freeze this frame and take a picture of it so you can put it next to you when you're working, if you need a couple of ideas as you're stitching along. All right, so now next thing, after you've got your pieces cut out, you're going to this is what I do just to make this really simple. I just put a whole bunch of these on a board, and this is my new cardboard that I haven't covered yet, which I will cover. So I put a whole bunch of them on here, and they're all ready to go. Let's see here, like that. And then I take them over to the couch. And I could do, you know, 6 or 8 of these in one night. It goes really fast. And it's just really simple. So I was working on these last night, and I realized I needed another little color in there. So that's why I picked the gold. And I think it just gives it a little oomph. I like red too. All right. Embellish your squares, and then we'll come back for the next step. You may hear some hammering in the background. I am sorry. Now, the next step is to take your 25 embellished squares and lay them out on a portable mat or piece of cardboard. Lay them out just the way you would like to see them sewn together. And then just pick this up and move it off to the side. Now, get your foundation cloth. That's what this is. My table space is under there. So here's my foundation cloth and incoming glare, and get yourself a ruler. If you have a square ruler, it's awesome. Use it now. And you're going to lay down your ruler, and you're going to pencil out a 10-inch square. And the reason why I like a square ruler, and you could use a regular ruler too, you just have to be more careful, is I'm going to get a true square, meaning the corners are going to be true. All right, so now let me lay this down, and you're going to leave at least 1 inch along the outside edge, right? And you're going to pencil, and you're never going to see this, so go heavy-handed, 10 inches. This is going to be your grid, so that your squares are going to be laid down straight. Okay, so now let's see, I'm standing over. Okay, standing over the camera is what I was trying to say. All right, so just pretend that it's penciled in. And now I've got my 10-inch square. So now here's your portable thing with your blocks on it. Now we're going to take this first row, and we've already spent the time making sure we like the layout, so we don't want to mess that up. And we are going to lay these down and stay right on top of your pencil line. Okay, you just want it to fit in that 10-inch spot. Now, the reason we're doing the pencil line is because if you don't, and you think you're laying these in straight, and then you find out by the time you get down to the bottom that they've been going like that. There we go. I hope I wasn't off shot. You don't want that. You want them to be nice and straight. So just take advantage of that pencil line. All right, I had to switch over to a sample piece because I'm not finished embellishing my gray squares, and I want to keep going with this video. So you lay down your squares, and if you're doing, 5 across and 5 down, just lay down the first row and make sure you're within the grid and that your squares all butted up together like that. And then put a few pins in there. The top and the side is probably the best spot to put the pin, because I'm going to be stitching this together right here. So if you're going to be doing a piece, you know, 5 across, like I showed you, mine is, then put one pin on this edge and one pin on this edge and on the top. One row at a time. Now, we're ready to stitch this together. I'm ready to stitch now, and what I like to do is have a few different color threads nearby already on the needle, so I don't have to stop and start. So the very first row, when you're very first getting started to do this, to do the stitching, this might, you know, get on your nerves. So if that happens, just take another pin and put it, you know, up here out of your way. So we're going to start down here. I'm right-handed. I'm going from right to left. And you're going to go 1/8 to a quarter, no more than 1/4 of an inch, but somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4. I don't even know what number that is, away from the edge. And you're leaving that space there because when you're all finished, you're going to go back in and do a little X on those joins to keep the corners down. So now we're just going to stitch all the way up. And as soon as these pins get in your way, take them out. I do use all different color threads on my seams. So you can't carry the thread over with this when you're stitching like one square to another. It's just too long of a distance on the back. So I end off each row. So I'm going to call this a row. So I'm just going to, we'll hang out together for a second. I'm almost finished. And then you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay. And as you're going along with your stitching, you know, stop about midway and just double check that you're still in line there. Okay, so it's debatable if I could put another stitch in there. I think I'm going to just put it very close. Okay, you just want to leave enough room to put an X there. So now I'm going to flip it over. And I have my finger, this finger, underneath here, so that as I'm going through the foundation cloth, I'm digging in a little bit to the wool underneath. But I don't want to go all the way through because I don't want this thread to show on the top. But you can flip it over and just double check it. Okay, and then I do a little back stitch and then cut it off. Okay, that's it. Now, just go all the way across your row, and then we'll come back and we'll do the next row together. All right, we're ready for the second row. So I just move these over, and I want to show you, these are just a little, this one's a little imperfect because it was the very first one I did, and I went too far to the edge with my embellishment, which just as a reminder, when you're doing your embellishments, try to stay off the edge about 1/4 of an inch to allow room for your stitching. But I'm going to use it anyway. And it's a little smaller. The whole thing, everything about this one is a little defunct. But I'm going to use it anyway to show you how I can compensate for that. I'm going to pin these in place. So what I like to do is butt them up together to the previous row. And remember, I'm going to try to stay on this line and put these pins in it. Now, I want the corners to meet, and I want this to stay straight, so the whole thing is a square, straight. The whole thing is a straight square. So this one's a little smaller. So I'm going to kind of try to ease it in. That's the word I'm looking for. And I'm going to pin it in a couple places. So remember, I'm going to stitch here, or I'm going to stitch across the whole row. So I'm going to start by stitching across the row. So I have my cardboard here. I'm just going to turn it. And I use different colors on each join. Now, you could go all the way across the row with the same color if you want, if it makes you crazy to keep stopping and starting, but I like the look of all the different colors. So I'm going to do the same thing. And, you know, you might try this. You might not want to hold it in your hand. You might want to just leave it on the cardboard. And that's why I use the piece of cardboard, because it's not a piece of cloth down there. It's a piece of cardboard. So when you hit your needle, when you dig your needle into there, you can feel it. And then you know to turn and go up. I hope that made sense. I prefer to hold it, so that's what I'm going to do. And you just want to make sure that your two edges are together. We just did this, right? So let's just zip right along. And just double check that your corner is coming into the corner. Hopefully you can see that right there. So now we've got 4 corners meeting. Right now I'm just going to go down into the back. End it off, give it a clip, and now I can take this pin out. Now this one's a little weird. So you'll see the wool is very forgiving. So you see this little space down here? Let me zoom you in. See this little space down here? When I stitch this together, I'll just pull it together like that. It'll be fine. All right. Now I have all 4 stitched together, and I just want to hold that up even closer so you can see that the corners lift up a little bit. So now I'm going to put a little X in there. And you can go back at the end and put your X's in, or you can do it now. Doesn't matter. Next thing we're going to do is the border. And let's start with the simplest one first. So let's just pretend this is a 10-inch square in the center. So there's 5 of these squares across and 5 down. All right, 25 squares stitched in the center. So now we're going to add the border, and we're going to do the simple one first. You're going to cut 2 pieces 2 inches wide by 10 inches long to attach to these 2 sides, and then you're going to cut 2 pieces 14 inches wide, and that is 10 inches plus 2 plus 2. 14 inches. You're going to cut 2 of those. Right? That's the simplest border right there. Now, you can just leave this as is with the raw edge, because, as we know, the felted wool has a nice raw edge. It's nice and flat. Or you can go on to the next step, which is the backing, and we'll get to that in a second. But the second option is if you wanted to use these 4 corner squares. And obviously these are from my other kit. So I have to use what I have on hand. So now if you wanted to put those 4 squares in, what you're going to do when you cut your borders, you're going to cut 2 inches wide by 10 inches long. You're going to cut 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to stitch the corner square to that. Okay, and now you've got that. You're still going to put this together the same way. You're going to put these two together first, stitch those, and then you're going to add these two, and just make sure you match up your corners. Okay, now if you bought a kit, I included the borders, but they are oversized, and so you will have to cut them down to fit your square. And the reason I gave you an oversized piece was just in case, you know, your inside square got a little wonky. There was a little wiggle room for you. So cut those down 2 inches wide by whatever dimension you have for your center square, which should be around 10 inches. Okay, so just measure it out and cut it. All right. Stitch those together, and then when we come back, we will add the background, the backing, I should say, the backing. Okay, so what I did is I put my finished piece down, and my finished piece is 14 inches by 14 inches. And I cut my backing square, which is right back here. I cut it 1.5 inches larger than this. That's going to give me enough room to fold it over and just put it on top of the edging. Now, I didn't want to go and make this too wide because I didn't want it to cover, you know, my embellishments on the corner. And as I think I might have mentioned, when I do these projects, I just do them for the first time, and my imagination just keeps going and going for the next step and the next step. And then usually when I'm finished, I realize, oh, I should have done blah, blah. So the embellishments should have been in a little further, but you know, when you make yours, you can do it that way so that when you fold over this little binding edge, it's not going to get in the way of your embellishments. So, live and learn. All right. I am going to fold this over. I just want a very small edging here just to finish the edge. And I'm just going to fold it over and then pin it down, and then I'll go back and whip stitch it so that you can't see the stitching. And I may, you know, like a needle turn applique, kind of like that. And then I might stitch on top of it. I'm not really sure. I'll see what it looks like when I'm finished. But that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to take it over to the iron and iron down this edge so it'll be easier to just fold it, then fold it over. And I'll be right back. All right, I zoomed you out so you could see the whole thing. And I folded over the edge and then folded it over again. And I just wanted to fold over as little of a seam as I possibly could along the edge because I don't want to cover up my corner squares, my embellishments. So I pinned it, as you can see. Haven't stitched it yet. And then I thought I would do the corner, and I'm going to zoom you in for that. I'm going to keep the corners really simple because I know a lot of you are not quilters, and so you would not be familiar with how to do a corner. So I'm going to just keep it real easy. And so this is folded over. Just want to show you it's folded over and then folded over again. And this is folded over too. So what I wound up doing is rolling this. So this is folded over, and then this one's folded over. And then roll it over onto the, let's call it the quilt, the block. And then just take this side, and it is a little bulky, and just bend it over like that and stitch it down. You could open this up and trim some of this away if you wanted to. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to leave it just like that, and I'm just going to stitch it down. All right, let me put a pin in this. And then let me zoom you out again. Okay, so now you can see how nice it looks, and I'll show you the back. Looks really nice, nice and smooth and flat. I'm going to go sit on the couch and stitch all around this. And you could just leave it as a table mat. You could make a pillow out of it. You could hang it on the wall. If you hang it on the wall, you would make a sleeve on the back. And I did show you how to make a sleeve in one of my videos. So I just poked myself in the finger. I will leave a link up in the corner so you can see how I made a sleeve. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this. I'll put a photograph at the end of the video so you could see, you know, once it's all stitched down. And I hope you'll make one. And I do have kits in the store, and I am going to be putting some gray kits in there. And I'm still working on that one. So I'll show you that when it's finished in a vlog. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the process, and I hope you'll make one too. So just remember to keep moving, just play, no rules, and remember to find something to be grateful for today. I'm always grateful for you, and I am grateful for this, that it came out as nice as it did, since I winged the whole thing. So thanks so much for watching. See you soon.